Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're calling from. My name is Uchoma Wozuru, and I'm part of the Light team and an assistant professor in implementation science at Wake Forest School of Medicine. And I'll be helping moderate this session titled Arts and Public Health. I'm really excited about it. And our speaker for this session is Awele Emili. Awele is a self-taught, award-winning digital illustrator and animator who creates visually appealing designs. Recently, she partnered with Facebook Africa to design the International Women's Day book titled Lead Herds Life Lessons from African Women. The book is targeted at amplifying the stories of African women to inspire young girls and youths across the African continent. Aside from her artworks, Awele is a medical pharmacologist and is a Master's in Public Health graduate student at Babcock University. Given her strong medical background, Awele creates fascinating illustrations and animations on issues around health and wellness. Awele hopes to use her art as a tool to communicate, create awareness, and address social issues such as gender equality, health, women empowerment, race, and education. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce and call on to our virtual stage Awele Emili, and can we also give her a round of virtual applause as she gets us started? So, you can take it away, Awele.
Okay. Hello guys, my name is Awele, like she said, and I will be talking about arts as an effective tool for public health awareness and for spreading information. So I'll be sharing my screen to show you guys what I've put together for my presentation. So sorry, can you see my screen? Sorry, I'm not sure if
Yeah, I can see your screen, and I'm going to mute myself. That way I don't.
okay. So I'm going to be talking about art in public health as a potent and effective tool for raising awareness and spreading information. So the rapid increase of disease outbreaks, pandemics, and other public health issues has created unprecedented need for rapid and effective science communication that is able to engage the global public in mass-scale behavioral change. Animation, illustrations, and comics are proving themselves as a natural and capable medium for responding to these challenges, harnessing benefits from both images and text media, woven together in related sequential arts to offer the additional opportunities of narrative communication. So what I'm basically trying to say is illustrations, animations, and comics have been used to create awareness for different things such as the pandemic, for example. There has been so many illustrations and comics about the pandemic. There's been so many illustrations and comics about disease outbreaks and other issues surrounding public health, and this has helped societies and communities to understand what is happening in where we live. So unfamiliar and complex ideas may be built up in a pace.
Sorry, Awele, we lost you for a little bit. We can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, now we can. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's when I make it large. Okay, so unfamiliar and complex ideas may be built up in a paced way over scenes in animations and then for panels in comics. The use of simplification, schematic representation, and metaphor can help make abstract concepts tangible. That is like some concepts that people might not understand once you just look at it. You can use illustrations and animations to simplify it for them to understand better. As a familiar entertainment medium, comics are accessible and enjoyed by a wide range of audience demographics. That's the young, the old, teenagers, youth, Gen Z, anyone can understand animations and illustrations telling a story, and they are readily available to be shared on social media for efficient mass dissemination of information. So this is an example of a comic I created about dyslexia, and this was shared on social media, Twitter, and it got over 2,000 likes and retweets. And this was 4 panel
Sorry
comics,
to
and it
cut you
was.
short again. Sorry, we can't see your screen. Sorry about that. Your slides.
Can you see them now?
Oh no, not yet.
Uh, can you see them now?
No, not yet.
I don't
I'm
know
not
why
quite
it's not.
sure. Oh, so it's showing on your. That's weird. Yeah, maybe try sharing again.
Okay, let me try. Um, so it's showing that it's already been shared, so I don't know why it's not sharing the
Yeah, I'm not
screen.
quite sure. Okay, maybe just proceed then. Yeah, but I know you wanted to really share it because we were here
Yes,
talking
I went.
about, yeah.
I went.
You know, is it possible to disconnect and then try again? Because initially it was showing till you expanded it, and then we lost both
Oh,
your voice and the
okay.
slides.
Let's just exit.
Okay, yeah.
It's showing now.
No, not yet.
Okay, let me. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to exit the
Maybe
session.
maybe exit and then, oh wow. So guys, so sorry, we're going to exit for a bit and then resume. Because I'm not
Okay.
sure why. Maybe exit for a bit, then return. See if that then we'll see
Okay.
if that works. Okay. I guess let's try it again.
Okay. I'm back here now. Let me share my screen. So it's sharing now.
Okay.
Okay. So this
Yeah,
is
perfect. Thank you.
okay. You're welcome. So this is an example of a comic I created about dyslexia, and this was shared on Twitter, and this got over 2,000 retweets and likes, and people were commenting on it because they were not even aware that some people had dyslexia and were going through this. So these are some of the comments. People were like, "God bless you," because even as a full-grown adult, that was when he discovered what dyslexia was, and he was actually suffering from dyslexia. A lot of people reached out and were asking about how can I, like, they were reaching out to me asking about how can I help my child. I think he has dyslexia, so I actually told them to reach out to their healthcare centers and organizations that help out with dyslexia because they are more equipped to deal with that kind of situation. So like you can understand how arts just from just this small demographic of people, you can understand how arts expanded and made them understand what dyslexia was, even though they were even though most of them were not aware of it, they were like aware of it afterwards. Even though it's not a detailed um description of dyslexia, it made them aware of the issue. So public engagement with science is crucial. When scientists do not participate in science communication, The public narratives are shaped without an informed expert voice, instead determined by interpretation, extrapolation, opinion, and misinformation. What I'm saying here is people that are in, if when scientists, doctors, and nurses, people in the healthcare sector don't engage with artists to create art that can help the society, some artists may create stuff that that might tell misinformation about a particular topic. So it's better to encourage people in the health sector to work with people in the art sector so they can create artworks that can help people in the public, which would give authentic and correct information. So there won't be widespread misinformation from different people. This can cause real harm in the public health sector, in public health context, exemplified by people of the anti-vax movement. Some artists that were anti-vax were spreading information about how you shouldn't get the vaccine for the pandemic, COVID issue, and people were like, because it's on social media, people were like believing them and all of those things. So there were some anti-vax movements, and which resulted to lower herd immunity, leading to largely preventable outbreaks in the case of COVID-19. So why use art to create awareness and information? Illustrations, comics, and animations are interesting. They are visually appealing and they are highly engaging methods for communicating public health. Medicine and science, public health, medicine, and science, where a concept can be built up over a series of panels or over a series of scenes in an animation, which are put together with image and context to create graphic narratives. The reader plays an active role in this exchange as they must engage their imagination to figure out what the story of what is happening between panels. Like the example I showed with the dyslexia, they have to read the comic, understand what's going on from small panels and arts, and they are able to engage with it and also relate with it. In the case of animation, they also engage with what happens in each scene, and sometimes these animations have a narrator describing the situation in simple detail, explained by illustrated and animated assets, which is related to the topic that can be in the health sector or the public health sector. They also control the pace at which information is introduced by the time they spend reading and looking at each panel and scene. So in this slide, this is an example of a comic, which is also an animation, showing people alternatives to handshakes, hugs, and high fives. So in the time of the pandemic, people were supposed to stay 6 feet apart from each other, and because of that, people were creating alternatives to greeting people from afar. So in this short animation, you can see different ways you can actually wave. You can do the high bro, the head nod, the namaste, and all of those things without touching the other person. So when in the peak of the pandemic, this was something that was shared around by some artists to show how you can engage with other people without being close to them. Together, this makes the experience of reading comics slightly unique for each person. In terms of education, comics leverage dual coding theory, whereby comprehension and retention of information is improved by inclusion of both visual and text dimensions of information. The medium itself is widely used and enjoyed, making it attractive vehicle for sharing public health information in an engaging way. The simplification of characters in comics shifts visual representation of people from realistic views towards the symbolic. Like for example, if you're creating a comic to explain an issue in society, you don't have to use the exact image of that particular thing. You can use symbolism, like maybe you don't even have to make it so detailed. You can use like circles or squares or even a stick figure to explain, to symbolize what this thing is. Like the stick figure can be maybe a sick person, and maybe a block figure can be a healthy person. Just for an example. This makes it easier for viewers of any demographic or to project their identity into the narrative and empathize with characters, giving more relevance to the situation observed. So you can actually use, depending on the demographic you're targeting, depending on the country, the society, people would rather relate to art that looks like them or like relates to them. They would rather work with. They would rather want to communicate with something, and something that looks more like something that they can see themselves in the act. If they can see themselves in the art, they can, observe the protocols that's been used in the artwork to help them. For example, let's say you go to a remote community, and maybe that's a community of people that wear hijabis. In your illustration, if you're trying to portray something for them to understand, maybe you want to make them wash their hands and do all those things for hygiene or clean their environment, I think the illustration should have hijabis in the illustration and panels, so that they can be like, okay, they can see themselves in the illustration, and they would be more willing to carry out the things explained in that illustration. So this is another comic I created for World Malaria Day. It's a simplified comic for how anti-malarials work. In the simple sense, this isn't exactly how it works. This isn't how anti-malarials fight Plasmodium, which is the disease-causing agent for malaria. It's just how, if someone's easy, they understand that, okay, if I take my anti-malarials, I'm going to fight the disease-causing Plasmodium in my body. So it's more or less a simplified version of how the drug works, but not exactly how it works. But anyone that looks at this will understand that, okay, if I take my drugs, I'm going to get better. So comic art is a form of visual art consisting of images which are commonly combined with text, often in the form of speech balloons or image captions, originally used to illustrate caricatures and to entertain through the use of amusing and trivial stories. It has by now evolved into an itinerary medium with many subgenres. Comic art is unconstrained by the rules of reality governing visual media, such as photography. This allows abstract concepts to be made tangible, because, such as showing curved spread clouds of infective materials, which is invisible in life, and representing this presence of infection, which may be asymptomatic or subtle, through the use of clear, distinctive color. So I have an image here that explains what I just said. So for example, during the COVID time, this image shows patient zero. The first panel shows patient zero in red. The first panel shows patient zero in red, and he's coughing. He has COVID, he's infected, and is in a supermarket coughing. He's infecting the closest person to him, and also some other people that are closer to the closest person. But the person far apart, the person far away, isn't being infected because she's probably like 6 feet apart from them. So this is just an illustration showing how COVID is going to affect someone that is in close proximity with someone that's already infected with the virus. So it also goes to show when they're isolated, the person that was far away doesn't get the virus, and she's self-isolating and still healthy. But those that were close to the person that was infected they have the virus and is incubating inside them. So it's best. That's why people are like, okay, stay indoors for the period, the self-isolation period, so you don't spread the virus. But then the patient zero decides to go out again to another place, maybe to get food in the third panel, maybe to get food or to get something, and he spreads the virus again, keeps on spreading the virus wherever it goes. So when enough people have recovered, it's safe to return to normal life, which is what is shown in the final panel. And also, the last panel is showing how if people don't when people were not self-isolating, it shows how the healthcare workers were overwhelmed with different people that were infected by the virus. And at that time, at the peak of the pandemic, so many people are infected with the virus, and it was overwhelming the healthcare representatives, and there were not enough doctors to care for the sick. Even the people that didn't have COVID, people that had other diseases couldn't get care because of people attending to COVID patients, and the hospitals were overflowing. So this illustration was created by Dr. Celine Keynes, which is someone that inspired me to create medical illustrations and illustrations for public health awareness. This is also another comic he made that shows people how the COVID-19 droplets spread from talking to coughing to sneezing and even speaking. So it just shows how droplets are spread if you're in close proximity with people that have the virus. So comics have been successfully used in healthcare settings to facilitate patient education, adherence, and decision making in both mental and physical conditions. A study analyzing the impact of an educational comic about AIDS on knowledge and attitudes found that significantly higher mean levels of knowledge were recorded at post-comic testing in the experimental group compared to those who did not receive the resources. So what I'm saying here was that people that in an AIDS trial, in an AIDS test, aptitude test, they gave some patients comic illustrations. They gave them illustrations of what they should do about their health and everything. And then um they gave another group of people. They didn't give them anything. So after the whole session, after they explained to them what they should do and what they should not do, they asked them after the session that and it was found that the people that had the illustrated references were able to recall and remember what they should do and not do compared to the ones that did not have it. So this was a test carried out, and this proved that people actually absorb more information with visual aid. Similar successes have been achieved when using comics to deliver information on skin cancer, depression, and diabetes. Furthermore, comics have also been shown to transcend language and socioeconomical barriers. A three-arm intervention study undertaken in children with amblyopia, whose parents had poor local language skills and were living in low socioeconomical area, demonstrated that a cartoon storybook intervention was the most effective result in 89% adherence of occlusion therapy than compared to 55% in the control group. So in what this is saying is that arts transcends language. It breaks barriers. Anyone can understand it. So in teaching children about things that they should do and not to do, they use illustrated storybooks for them to understand. So there are so many books out there that teaches about hygiene, teaches about body, like how to take care of your body, different things, even diseases and health. Basically, children in schools and even people, youths, young people, and adults can understand things more if you use illustrations to explain them regarding health. So this also is another illustration that was shown. This was created by Wayman No, and this explains how people had fear during the pandemic period because there was this panic that was going on when people are buying toilet paper and buying excessive things from grocery stores. And while they were doing that, even though they had the means to purchase all these items, they did not need this much. While others actually needed it, were not able to acquire these resources because people had already collected them. So this illustration was showing how people were getting more than they should have and how other people were being neglected because they could not get these resources from anywhere else because other people had already gotten them. So this was shared on social media to show people that they should stop panicking about the pandemic, that things are going to get better and they should not hoard resources. So the limitations of comics and arts in science. Comics are simply a medium which offers some unique possibilities for engaging communication. Those building comics determine the messages shared. Their knowledge and ability will enhance or limit the accuracy, clarity, and effectiveness of comics created. Collaborations between science experts and artists skilled in science communication is key to successfully harness this medium in public health strategy. So, like I said before, artists and healthcare workers and science workers should work together and collaborate to make sure that the information being passed out in comic and illustration form are accurate and easily understood, that has accurate information. In conclusion, art can be used as a vehicle to present science in graphic narratives, harnessing the power of visuals, text, and storytelling in a memorable and engaging format. This medium is familiar and accessible to wide audiences and can transcend language barriers, knowledge, age, and culture. Unfamiliar and complex ideas can be illustrated and animated. Simplification of schematic representation and metaphors can make abstract concepts tangible. Stories which appeal to emotions are more powerful than purely data-driven arguments. So if you're creating illustrations to explain maybe someone, let's say someone, a scientist discovered the cure for cancer, for example, and then they want to tell the world about it. Yes, I would like to read that because I am a pharmacologist and I can understand what's going to be in the papers, but not everybody is going to understand what is there. Not everybody has a background in science. Some people study different things. Some people are not even educated. Some people come from different economical backgrounds and don't have the opportunity to go to school. So if you want to, like, something that you can share for everyone to understand is art, and you can easily just illustrate something, put things that people would understand how people understand your data in an illustrated way that that can be shared amongst so many people in so many countries and so many places. So I think that's it for me. References that I got, and thank you
Yeah,
for this.
thank you so much, Awele. It is so nice to see some of the work you've done and also bringing home some of the other work that have been done by other illustrators. So I think it's very helpful to understand and learn how illustration comics could be alternative ways of reimagining how we promote health. And like you mentioned, especially thinking about the ongoing pandemic, because we're still in a COVID-19 pandemic, just having
Yes.
alternative ways of communicating health beyond those who are health professionals, how we get to the public. So thank you so much. Very thorough. I think I will move over. We do have some questions, and then I'll open some prepared questions. Then I'll open it up to the audience in case we do have additional questions. So, in one word, how would you describe art, and why does it matter for healing? Because we're in the realm of talking about public health, reimagining public health, thinking about healing from our name, light. So, I guess in
Yeah.
one word first, how would you describe art?
So I think art is like a form of expression. I think art is something that anyone can use to express themselves. And art isn't just illustration. I know there are different forms of art. Art can be expressed in music, can be expressed in songs, can be expressed in poems and so many other things. Dance. So I think it's just a form of expression from within.
Okay, thank you. I guess we cheated a little bit. We used three words, form of expression. So expression. So love it. No, but that's okay. That would
Okay.
be me too. That would be how I respond. So you've talked about art being expression, and then there are different forms of the art. How do you think? Why do you think it matters when we're thinking about healing as well as thinking about public health?
I think with healing, art and healing, I think in health, art helps people have a positive outlook. It helps the mind. It helps you be less anxious. I feel like art combined with health helps, especially in the hospital. There was this NGO I joined, Arts in Medicine, and their goal was to create illustrations around sick hospital rooms for children and everything. And there was a difference in how they don't come into a dull space. They come into a place that is inviting and calm, and it just is an impact on that emotion in your body and your mind. So I think that directly affects your body as well. So it helps, it heals. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. No, I love it. Thank you. And then, just curious, given that your background is in pharmacology, can you take us back to the beginning? Why did you choose art over other mediums for communicating health? Because you could have gone in different direction given your academic training. So just
Yeah.
take
Mhm.
us back a little
Okay.
bit to how you got here.
Okay, so since I was like 7, I've been illustrating. So then I didn't know I was going to go into the medical field or anything. I just knew, okay, I just like illustrating. I like making art. I like watching cartoons. So from then, when I got into the medical field, I was like, okay, there's a way I can actually spread information using art. With my skills, I could actually make a difference, even though it might not be a big difference, can be a little difference. So I was like, okay, let me just try this. And yeah, that's how I got into creating art for awareness and health.
Great. At 7, that's amazing. What was I doing at 7? Probably eating a
It's
lot of candy. So
not
thank
like
you.
it's not like the art was like super good when I was 7. It was just
But it
okay.
started the journey for you. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So, I guess, can you share a little bit? So, what's your process like for art? So, so thinking about where do you find your inspiration? What's the beginning process for you? What does that look like?
Mhm. Okay, first off, I actually like I get concepts. I try to conceptualize the topic. If I want to talk about something, it can be like comedy or a topic about health or anything at all. I have to get like I have to understand what the concept is, what is it. Then I try to source out information. What has been there before? What can I do to improve what has been there before? Then I get my information, research, and put them all together. And from there, I sketch out my illustration. It can be in a sketchbook or it can be digitally on my graphic tablet. Then after that, I just like use digital softwares like Photoshop or Procreate to like make them colored and neat to share.
Oh, well, amazing. It just shows that there's a whole process to this, It's like it takes
Yeah.
time from conceptualization to actually sketching it out. That's nice. And you touched a little bit on it. So, what are some of the tools you use, just in case there are people here in the audience who are interested in venturing into art and trying to figure out where to start from? So, you did mention Photoshop. You
Yeah.
mentioned your digital Illustrator. But anyways, can you share a little bit more of some of those tools that you use?
Okay. So for creating illustrations, I use my graphic tablet is a Wacom Cintiq and an iPad Pro. So I use those. The iPad Pro is when I'm on the move, and then when I'm like um in a place, I use my Wacom. And the softwares I use for animation is Toon Boom Harmony, and for illustration, Procreate and Photoshop. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for being kind and sharing that. And also for the rest of us, as I'm asking the questions, feel free to prepare yours. And if you do have a question, you could raise up your hand and I could call on you, or you could type it in the chat box, okay? So next question. So, who did you lean on or learn from throughout the process of creating art? I know in your presentation you did mention a few people who had inspired
Yeah.
your work. So, if you could share a little bit more of that. So, who have you leaned on or learned from throughout your process of creating art?
Okay, so first off, I didn't start out creating art for health. So my first inspiration was actually Disney. Yes. So I was inspired by Disney to like start creating arts, like the whole channel, the stories and everything. So from there I got into knowing the exact artists that actually created illustrations that created Disney shows like Glenn Keane. So he was an inspiration for me. So from then on, after that, when I went to like create animated and illustrated content for health, I went on YouTube and started searching how can I do this. So I found Clean, Dr. Clean. He's a New Zealand doctor based in New Zealand, and he's also a medical illustrator. So I was actually inspired by his work. He's on Instagram, he has a blog and everything. So his illustrations are very visually engaging. Like he makes them more like a video game, but he puts in the health aspect as well. So it's very engaging and very interesting to like look at and to understand. So yeah, he inspires me for medical art.
Okay, great. So from Disney to medical art is so amazing that you're able to combine things you're passionate as well as like the work aspect of it. I think that's a sweet spot if all of us can get there. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've talked about a lot of things you're doing. So it's very evident you're passionate about it. So what's your favorite part of using art to raise awareness or spread information about art? So what's your favorite part and why is that your favorite part?
Okay, so my favorite part is the fact that I get to simplify topics that people don't understand from these. Like, it's not everybody that has a background in medicine or science or anything. So the fact that I can easily just create something that people can understand using art, I think that's my best part for creating art. Uh And the fact that I can easily put on social media and which is a wide range of people of different opinions. There are some people arguing about things. There's people trying to prove being right, being wrong, and it's just like, okay, there are like a lot of people that have opinions. So I think the whole community of arts is actually very interesting. So I don't think I have a bad part right now. I don't think I have any worst parts
Negative.
currently.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay, because my next question was going to be, what's your least favorite part about it? But it seems like you're flowing the ocean of euphoria. So that's amazing that a lot of the work you do, you see the outright benefit. And I think at the moment, Alexis, you have a question, and I'm going to let you go before I continue.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I was wondering, what is your favorite piece that you've done? Like whether, and you can name a couple, like if there's one like in your beginning journey, you know, like with Disney, and then like now, because I know you do a lot of animations now as well. But yeah, what are your favorite piece or pieces, I guess?
Okay, so actually my favorite piece is something that nobody will think because it's a plate of pancakes. It's an animated plate of pancakes. So
I would love to see
yeah,
it.
it's just a flat plate with pancakes falling down, and then there's strawberries and syrup and everything. It's like just a breakfast. So I think that's my favorite piece. But nobody, I posted it, but like nobody really engaged with it. But I think I really like it because of how it came out. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, thank you. And thanks, Alexis, for that question. So now we're gonna go to your social media and try to find the pancakes. But that's me. I love food, so that definitely speaks to me. Pancakes and strawberry, absolutely. Yeah. And for the rest of us, if you do have questions, please do raise your hand, okay? So I was just curious, what do you think makes art a unique medium to spread information about health and overall well-being? I know you've spoken a little bit as to how it helps to simplify the concept, but what else do you
Yeah.
think makes art unique?
I think aside simplifying, you can create art that it doesn't need language. It breaks barriers with language. You can communicate without speaking. You can just create a visual and people can understand without reading a text or going into detail. Once you just see it, you understand. And because of we're living in a world where there are different people from different cultures and different languages, it can just reach everyone. Everyone can understand art. So I think is that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, yeah, what else, just curious. So, if you could go back in time, thinking about your undergrad was in pharmacology, do you think that would have been the degree you would have undertaken as an undergraduate degree?
I think so. Like currently, well, or medicine maybe. Like I don't know, but
Or
yeah, I think
medicine?
so.
Okay. No, great. So you're
Because
still in the right
I wouldn't
direction.
say, yeah, I wouldn't say I had like total control of my choice. Because when we choose our degrees when we're 16, so a lot of people have influences on our choices. So if I was going to go back, it's probably going to be the same thing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Alexis, you're on the road. Go for it.
I was gonna ask, I know you mentioned to me that you're in your MPH program, right?
Yeah.
Your first year.
Yeah.
So what would you like to do after that, like with your MPH and with art? What is your goal?
Okay, so actually, I'm actually specializing in health promotion. So I think it actually it suits what I want to do. It still regards arts and promoting health. So yeah, that's what I actually want to do the MPH. That can be more like understanding of, the whole public health sector and also the whole medical sector and everything.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, health promotion. I think, yeah, no, that's really, it just helps to just reemphasize the need to figure out like other ways to communicate health and health promotion. So I love it. And as a researcher, I'm thinking of like, oh, what are all these other things we could do? So that's amazing. We're near we're towards the end of the question. So I don't I'm gonna see, does anyone else have any questions? But if not, my last question for you would be for if there, because we might have people in the audience who might be interested in art. So for someone who has no prior knowledge of art or experiences creating pieces of art, but is interested in venturing into that as a way for health promotion, what type of advice would you give the person? Or what piece of advice would you give to us to figure out
Okay,
how to
if
navigate this? So for someone who has
okay,
no experience with art but is interested in using that as a medium for health promotion, social justice, social advocacy, what piece of advice would you give to us to navigate that?
so there are two ways. First off, you can collaborate with an artist that can help you create what you want to communicate to the public. So you go out there, select an artist that you think, okay, this style actually matches what I want to create. Then you work together to create what you want to share to the public. And then also the second one is you learning how to make art yourself. So you might not have too much skill, like you might not have the skill or the talent. People are like, oh, I can't draw. But I think if you practice, you would be able to create something worthwhile. There are like so many softwares and so many resources on YouTube and Twitter and like literally everywhere that you can use to just, learn and start. It always starts, you have to start if you want to learn. So just take that leap of faith and do it.
Lovely. No, thank you
Yeah,
so much, Awele. It's been amazing having you. We're super grateful, beyond grateful. We
thank
can't even
you.
use words to quantify how our gratitude. So thank you so much. We've learned a lot, and thanks for spending this past few minutes with us. And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So hopefully we'll all be in touch. And
Hmm.
yeah, so anyways, we for the rest of us, the audience, we have other things happening. We do have our exhibition hall, our expo hall, that lists some of the resources as well as how to contact Awele. So feel free to reach out. And we are here. The festival is going on up until 5 p.m. Central Time. So stay tuned. So thank you so much, everyone. Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you so much. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Bye.
Alexis. Bye.